The Bogosity Podcast, early and ad-free. Become a subscriber at Patreon, Subscribestar, or Discord. Use the links at donate.bogosity.tv.
Welcome to the Bogosity Podcast for the week of March 2nd, 2025. The podcast you can turn to when nobody needs you. This is your host, Shane Killian. Let's jarivise the news of the bogus. So let's start out with probably the biggest backfire in polling history. We've covered before how the Harvard-Harris poll basically does whatever they can to weight things towards the Democrats. Well, either they've turned over a new leaf, or the effect we're going to cover is too much even for them to hide. Either way, it's big news. Public approval of the Democratic Party is at a record low, 36%, 15 points below the GOP. Not only that, but 58% of voters are more satisfied with Trump's job as president than Biden, and 72% of voters support a Doge-like agency. They reported, in his first month in office, President Donald Trump's approval rating is at 52%, with voters most satisfied with his job on immigration, reducing the cost of the government, and returning America to its values. The majority of voters support Trump's policies on the border, focus on government expenditures, gender, DEI, and offshore drilling, but have concerns on his foreign policies involving tariffs, the Israel-Hamas war, and the war in Ukraine. The percentage of voters who think the country is on the wrong track dropped 10 points to 48% over the last month, while those who say it's on the right track increased 14 points to 42%. It was a similar case with the economy. The top two issues were overwhelmingly inflation and immigration, with the economy a comfortable third, and that's pretty much maintained across party lines. In addition to Trump's approval rating, 2/3 of voters said the Democrats should take a wait-and-see attitude towards what Trump is doing, in complete contrast to their behavior across the news and social media. The only issue polled where Trump didn't have majority support is renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, with only 39%. The largest amount of support was for deporting illegal immigrants who commit crimes at 81%, followed by undertaking a full-scale effort to find and eliminate fraud and waste in government expenditures, and closing the border, both at 76%. Voters also overwhelmingly rejected DEI, choosing merit over diversity 70-30, and opposing race and gender-based hiring practices 79-21. On budget issues, 67% say government debt is unsustainable, and 83% want a balanced budget. Geez, how high does it have to get before Republicans give it more than lip service? 83% prefer reducing government spending to increasing taxes, with 69% wanting to cut $1 trillion, and 77% want a full examination of all government expenditures, which 70% believe are filled with waste. 72% agreed with having a government agency to cut wasteful spending, and 60% agreed that Doge is helping to make major cuts. On the Ukraine front, 72% want Ukraine to negotiate a settlement with Russia, and 60% want Trump to negotiate with Russia to end the war. While there are a few of these that went against Trump and a few others that were mixed, the overall message is clear from a polling company that, if anything, is biased against Trump. Most voters support what he's doing. Folks, it's fine if you have opinion that goes against the majority. It's practically what this podcast is all about. But you need to understand that Trump won and is being successful because what he's doing is popular with the people. Whatever the solution to that is, it's not denial. Whatever positions you might disagree with, the proper course of action is to try and change people's minds. Pretending that Trump is being some kind of corrupt fascist and Elon is being some kind of unelected dictator is not going to get you anywhere.
Sometimes you just have to stomp some skulls. From the mind of Mr. Dapperton, a game for the ages. In a world where a race of undead furries tries to take over the world's nuclear arsenal, one man must stop them. But which man? You choose. The Orange Overlord.
Ow, my ear!
Bernie Slanders. Debate Dominator.
My kip was ruined.
Or Joe Sleepy.
Build me back.
And of course, Mr. Fancy Pants himself.
Forget those losers! You can get the Gold Edition and play as 4 more characters, including me, the Spooky Spaceman, along with Billionaire Brat, Professor Proof, and the easiest way to play, as Jesus himself!
7 complete different worlds, with more coming all the time. Full controller support. You can even get eaten by a worm and pooped out into a furry cathedral.
And don't forget that Gold Edition, where you can play the ultimate challenge, Devil's Doorstep.
This gory satirical adventure pulls no punches. You know you want this game. Go to links.bogosity.tv/skullstompers and play Skull Stompers now.
And from our We Saw That Coming a Mile Away department, we have the first tech company deciding to drop its service in the UK entirely rather than put in a backdoor. Apple's iCloud uses end-to-end encryption to protect user data so that it can only be decrypted on the user's trusted devices, protecting them in the case of a data breach. This includes iCloud backup, photos, notes, reminders, Safari bookmarks, and voice memos. We've covered the UK Online Safety Bill, which gives British officials the ability to force backdoors into encrypted messaging services. We've seen this kind of thing in the past, where secure apps like Signal simply drop support for that country rather than compromise their own software. Your reminder that there is no such thing as a backdoor that can only let in the good guys. Compromise encryption, and you compromise it for everybody, hackers and hostile foreign governments, as well as law enforcement. So Apple is turning off advanced data protection for new users in the UK. The company said, quote, "We are gravely disappointed that the protections provided by ADP will not be available to our customers in the UK, given the continuing rise of data breaches and other threats to customer privacy. ADP protects iCloud data with end-to-end encryption, which means the data can only be decrypted by the user who owns it, and only on their trusted devices. As we have said many times before, we have never built a backdoor or master key to any of our products or services, and we never will." Existing customers have a grace period to manually disable it in order to keep their iCloud accounts. This is only about the additional extra security feature and won't affect the end-to-end encryption used by iMessage, FaceTime, and password management. Senator Ron Wyden and Congressman Andy Biggs sent a letter to DNI Director Tulsi Gabbard alerting her to this issue, saying, "These reported actions seriously threaten the privacy and security of both the American people and the U.S. government. If Apple is forced to build a backdoor into its products, that backdoor will end up in Americans' phones, tablets, and computers, undermining the security of Americans' data, as well as of the countless federal, state, and local government agencies that entrust sensitive data to Apple products. The Salt Typhoon hack of U.S. telephone carriers' wiretapping systems last year, in which President Trump and Vice President Vance's calls were tapped by China, provides a perfect example of the dangers of surveillance backdoors. They will inevitably be compromised by sophisticated foreign adversaries and exploited in ways harmful to U.S. national security. After years of senior U.S. government officials from both Republican and Democratic administrations pushing for weaker encryption and surveillance backdoors, it seems that the U.S. government has finally come around to a position we have long argued. Strong end-to-end encryption protects national security. Indeed, in the wake of the Salt Typhoon hack, CISA released public guidance which recommended that high-value targets, including members of Congress, solely use end-to-end encrypted communication tools like Signal. It really should be everybody using it, not just the high-value targets, but anyway. In response, Gabbard wrote, I share your grave concern about the serious implications of the United Kingdom or any foreign country requiring Apple or any company to create a backdoor that would allow access to Americans' personal encrypted data. This would be a clear and egregious violation of Americans' privacy and civil liberties and open up a serious vulnerability for cyber exploitation by adversarial actors. This matches her comments at her confirmation hearing where she said, quote, "Backdoors lead down a dangerous path that can undermine Americans' Fourth Amendment rights and civil liberties." So if Trump follows Gabbard's advice on this, his administration will be the first in a long time, including Trump's first term, to get behind strong encryption. In the meantime, it's good to see big tech companies like Apple standing up for strong encryption and sending the UK a big message. Hopefully this continues until our rights to privacy and strong encryption become completely unfettered. If you're on the Wi-Fi in a coffee shop or hotel, anyone on that network can get your traffic. Do you really trust all of those strangers? For that matter, do you really trust your ISP? A VPN can protect you from prying eyes, disguise your location, and even foil government censors. It's essential in this day and age, so go to vpn.bogosity.tv and you'll be taken to BoxPN. Starting at just $2.99 a month, you can get unlimited high-speed connections to VPN servers all over the world, and they don't log connections, so your privacy is assured. Traveling abroad, just VPN home, and don't worry about what those other governments are doing. Back at home, stop your ISP from traffic shaping and messing with the quality internet access you're paying good money for. You can connect from multiple machines at once, including your smartphone or tablet, and it supports all the secure standards, including OpenVPN and SSTP. Bypass censors and surveillance with your own secure VPN connection. Go to vpn.bogosity.tv. So Mississippi just took a giant step backwards with the First Amendment when Chancery Judge Crystal Wise Martin decided to go full on behind prior restraint. The Clarksdale Press Register published an op-ed titled "Secrecy, Deception, Erode Public Trust," criticizing the city for holding a public meeting without actually notifying the public that it was going to happen. She apparently took a page out of the book of the corrupt D.C. judges that are using TROs to stop Trump's executive actions and issued a TRO of her own requiring the newspaper to remove the op-ed. The paper had no chance to argue its case as the hearing was completely ex parte and based solely on unsubstantiated allegations from City Attorney Melvin D. Miller III. In an emailed exchange with Ken White, better known online as Popat, Miller said that it wasn't prior restraint because the paper had already published it. Moron. He also claimed that the accusation that they failed to notify the public was defamatory, despite case law showing that it isn't, and cities can't sue for defamation anyway. Judge Martin ruled, "The injury in this case is defamation against public figures through actual malice in reckless disregard of the truth and interferes with their legitimate function to advocate for legislation they believe would help their municipality during this current legislative cycle." Of the decision, White said, quote, "Mississippi has issued a prior restraint order so ludicrously unconstitutional it's only consistent with deliberate misconduct or abject ignorance of the relevant law, disgraceful and lawless." That's not to mention the obvious venue shopping the city underwent, going 150 miles away to Hinds County to get this judge specifically. The op-ed has been taken down, but it's been republished a number of other places, including many other newspapers around the country, and could be said to have gone viral. The Streisand effect strikes again. Meanwhile, maybe Martin and the city officials should be investigated to see what kind of criminal collusion was going on. A reminder to the Mississippi State Legislature that impeachment of judges is a thing. And that reminder should go to every state legislature and to Congress, since it looks like judges might be starting to weaponize TROs. I want to tell you about the eyeglasses I've been wearing for years. As people can see on my videos, I have a very strong prescription, which makes glasses more expensive, especially when I need computer glasses, reading glasses, prescription sunglasses, and most expensively, progressive lenses for general everyday wear. To save money while still getting quality glasses, I get them from Firmoo. In fact, I just got a pair of progressives with high-index aspherical lenses and a nice pair of frames my wife loves for just over $100. It would have been $500 to get them through my eye doctor. Not only do they look good, the glasses are durable. I've worn many pairs for several years without problems. All orders come with a 30-day return policy, a 3-month warranty, and one-on-one customer service. Go to Firmoo, that's FIRMOO.Bogosity.tv anytime you need quality glasses at a low price. Once again, that's Firmoo.Bogosity.tv. And now it's time to delegitimize this week's biggest Bogon emitter. So we know that license tags represent the speech of the driver and/or vehicle owner. Among many other places, that was established in Woolley v. Maynard in 1977, where the Supreme Court sided with Jehovah's Witnesses who had covered up the state slogan "Live Free or Die" on their license tag. SCOTUS had said that not allowing them to do so, since it didn't in any way cover the tag number itself, comprised compelled speech, which is a First Amendment violation. On the flip side, you have Walker v. Sons of Confederate Veterans in 2015, where SCOTUS upheld the state denying a specialty plate with a Confederate battle flag on it, saying the denial involves government speech, which isn't in the same realm as First Amendment protected private speech. Alito dissented, saying the rejection was viewpoint discrimination. Here's the distinction. If the state forces individuals to display a message they oppose, it's private speech, and the First Amendment prevents the state from compelling their speech. If the state controls the design or message as part of its own expression, it's government speech, and the state can regulate it without running afoul of the First Amendment. So now we have the Tennessee Supreme Court, which just ruled that personalized license plates are government speech, not First Amendment protected private speech. That means the government can engage in viewpoint discrimination. Back in 2010, plaintiff Leah Gilliam obtained the license plate 69PWNDU, or 69 Pwned U. She kept that plate until 2021, when the state all of a sudden decided it was offensive. They ruled, applying the 3 factors that the United States Supreme Court has traditionally employed in its government speech precedents, we conclude that personalized alphanumeric combinations on Tennessee's license plates are government speech. The problem is, this is at odds with how other courts have ruled on the issue. Gilliam's attorney, Daniel Horowitz, said, quote, "There is a reason why nearly every other court to adjudicate this issue has concluded that personalized license plates are not communicating secret government messages, and we will be asking the United States Supreme Court to review the Tennessee Supreme Court's error." So for one example, last year a federal judge struck down Delaware's rules for vanity plates when a breast cancer survivor was denied an application for a plate reading F cancer. The state said it was offensive, but the court said that was unconstitutional viewpoint discrimination. New Hampshire's ban on vanity plates that are, quote, offensive to good taste, was struck down after it was challenged by a man who was denied the plate Cops Lie. There have been similar rulings against California, Kentucky, South Dakota, and Maryland, all saying that the unique characters on a vanity license plate represent private speech in a non-public forum. Listen to Tennessee's pathetic hand-waving of that point, quote, "We acknowledge that most of the courts that have considered whether personalized license plates are government speech after Walker have reached a contrary conclusion. We disagree with those courts for 2 primary reasons. First, they fail to appreciate that the alphanumeric combinations on license plates are the government ways of communicating identifying information about the vehicle." Really? Seriously? Quote, "Second, they departed from Walker with respect to the control factor based on immaterial distinctions. The court distinguished Walker on the grounds that Texas had sole control over the content of a specialty plate, whereas vehicle owners create the message on personalized plates. But even in Texas's specialty plate program, private entities could submit draft designs for plates. Like us, those courts found that alphanumeric combinations provide identifiers for public, law enforcement, and administrative purposes, and therefore have historically been used to convey government speech. Also like us, those courts found that the government exerted effective control over personalized license plates because it had final approval authority and actively exercised that authority by reviewing and at times rejecting requested combinations. So to summarize for those of you who are dizzy from the circular reasoning, the authority the government exercised to censor the license tags was constitutional because the government had censored license tags. That's basically it. It's a bit like the ontological argument, only for government powers. Gilliam's plate went unchallenged for 11 years when the Director of Personnel of the Tennessee Department of Revenue received a text regarding the plate. They then revoked her plate, quote, because it referred to sexual domination. Because heaven forbid women should be dominant in the bedroom. She initially lost at the district court level, but the appeals court reversed that decision after her attorneys presented evidence of the state allowing sexual plates reading BLZDEEP, IMCMMIN, and 69BOSS, and even racist plates reading 88 Power and COONHTR, although, I don't know, that last one might have referred to the animals that dig through your garbage. Two potential interpretations there. Hey, I wonder if they allow plates that have a 6 and a 9 together on their non-vanity plates. This decision is just dizzying in more ways than one, so hopefully they get the Supreme Court to take this up and get a bit of sense back into the law. Walker needs to be seriously curtailed, if not overturned entirely. But really, this is just a textbook case of arguing from the conclusion. They didn't like her plate or like the government having the power to censor and twisted themselves into pretzels trying to make the precedent fit. And that just has to make the Tennessee Supreme Court this week's biggest Bogon emitter. Do you have children or nieces or nephews? Are you homeschooling or just want to counter some of the socialist indoctrination most children get in school? If so, go to Bogosity.tv/TuttleTwins, and you'll be taken to a website where you can get some great books for elementary-aged children. The Tuttle Twins books are books about liberty and free market economics that include children's versions of Bastiat's The Law, Leonard Read's I, Pencil, and Hayek's The Road to Serfdom, as well as books about the Federal Reserve and how regulations protect business cronies. They'll learn about the harm caused by eminent domain, or regulations passed in the name of safety, and fundamental concepts of liberty. And as you can see from the sample pages on the website, they're all easy to read and nicely illustrated. They're just $9.99 a piece, or get a special discount as well as free bonuses when you purchase all 5. You can even buy in bulk to donate to schools and local libraries. So get the Tuttle Twins books at Bogosity.tv/TuttleTwins. And now let's transubstantiationalify this week's
Idiot Extraordinaire.
And it's more boneheadedness from Russia, who still hasn't learned that censorship, as we've seen in not one but 2 previous segments in this very edition, only gives the thing you're trying to censor a greater amount of attention. Russian streaming services, like so many Russian firms, have really had it bad, being hit by sanctions because of a war they had no say in, the ravages of inflation, and now increased restrictions on what kind of programs they can offer the Russian public. Back in November, Vladimir Putin signed Decree number 809 for, quote, countering sociocultural threats to the national security of the Russian Federation, which apparently means anything that goes against, quote, traditional Russian spiritual and moral values. Online streaming platforms saw a 42% increase over the last year, while Russian cinemas experienced a loss of sales that was described as catastrophic. So apparently, as a bit of protectionism, there's a new amendment to 809 that says that online streaming services must obtain distribution certificates from the state just as if they were in-person cinemas. It will also deny certificates if the film in question is determined to be, quote, promoting denial or discrediting traditional Russian spiritual and moral values. The Commission of the Russian Union of Industrialists and Entrepreneurs is opposing the decree, saying that it could cost the industry 500 million rubles a year for new content and 1.5 billion rubles to certify existing content. It'll also cost the Russian Ministry of Culture a significant burden just issuing these certificates, which could rise to the tens of thousands per year. In fact, about the only people this would benefit are the ones running decentralized peer-to-peer networks. In other words, pirates. And how many times have we covered stories like that? They're anonymous, which means you can't go after the people offering the content, and they're decentralized, meaning there isn't a single server you can take down. And there are so many Russian pirate networks that they're viewed not only by Russians, but by people all over the world. Just check Reddit to see all the people asking why so many pirates are Russian. In fact, back in May of 2022, we covered how Russian cinemas were resorting to showing movies they downloaded via BitTorrent. So if anyone should have learned this lesson, it's Russia. So there's no way anyone else could have been this week's
Idiot Extraordinaire.
Well, that wraps up this I'm not Lulu-Looing, I'm Willa-Willa-Wailing edition of the Bogosity podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go to donate.bogosity.tv for several ways to support and discord.bogosity.tv to join the discussion. Subscribe at the Discord or at Patreon or Subscribestar, and you can listen early and ad-free. Thank you for listening. Until next time, here's a quote from Newton Lee. Thanks to the internet, words can travel at the speed of light, and no amount of censorship can stop the flow of information. The Bogosity podcast is licensed under Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License.
Bogosity.